UVM scoreboard. The purpose of writing a scoreboard class is to check the behavior of the DUT. So a scoreboard will receive the input transactions and output transactions through a monitor, and the transaction received the input is passed to a reference model, and this reference model is will model or mimic the behavior of the DUT in some other programming language or even in Systemverilog, and it will convert the input transaction to the expected output transaction. Thus, the expected output transactions will be compared against the actual output transaction that is monitored at the output interface. So its functionality is to check the behavior or to check the correctness of the DUT. So this is the anatomy of a simple scoreboard. So its implementation will be differing from DUT to DUT, but this you can consider as a general way of writing it. You will extend your own scoreboard from the UVM component or the UVM scoreboard class, and after the fact registration macro, there will be analysis exports and analysis FIFO's declaration. So analysis exports are required to get this transaction coming through different monitors or through different analysis ports in the agent class. So you will be connecting the analysis port in the scoreboard to the agent or to the final monitor in the environment. And in the build phase function, after the soup.build phase function, you will create all the components. You will create the analysis exports and also you will create all the analysis FIFOs. The advantage of using an analysis FIFO in the scoreboard is that it already gives you an implementation of the analysis export. So in every analysis export should be connected to a final implementation. Then only you will be able to send transactions and receive transactions in the UVM verification environment. So the TLM analysis FIFO class has already a built-in implementation for the analysis export, which is called as the analysis underscore export. So you can use the FIFO.analysis underscore export implementation to connect the analysis export class, analysis export in the component, such that this will be acting as the endpoint in your connection diagram. So even if you are not understanding the whole diagram now, there will be another session which is explaining the flow of transaction from different components and what all are needed to complete the connections. So there you will get more picture about how the transaction is flowing from one component to another and why an implementation is needed. So you can just understand that you need an implementation of a final implementation of an analysis export, and if you are using a TLM FIFO, it will supplies you and it will put all the transaction into a built-in FIFO. So you can just get this transaction from the TLM analysis FIFO using the get function. And in the run phase task, you will be writing the actual implementation or the actual comparison of your input to the output. So if whenever you are getting an input transaction at the input monitor, you will pass it to a reference model if needed, and you will predict an expected transaction. And whenever an actual output transaction is received at the output monitor, you will compare the expected output transaction with the actual output transaction and flag an error if they are not matching. Thus, the run phase implementation is specific to your DUT behavior. So at this point, you might not be able to understand all these concepts clearly, but once you complete all these class implementation sessions, and also in the next session you will be learning how the connection is made between different components, and after that, once you revisit all these classes or all these class implementation details again, you will be understanding more clearly.